Okay, I'm Jonsson. I'm the managing director for Saab. I've been in this position since 2005, so it's almost 3 years by now.
You worked with Saab for a number of years. Could you speak to kind of some of your historical reference points of what you've done along the way?
Well, you know, I started in the early 70s actually, as I was studying computer science, and at that time Saab Scania was actually manufacturing mainframe computers, competing with IBMs and the like, and that's how I got into Saab, because they had a big mainframe computer that I was educated to work on, and yeah, then after a few years I found cars maybe being a little bit more interesting, so yeah, it was a good start, it was a good experience.
Could you speak about some of the new products we have here, and mainly the 94X that you have behind you, and what that means for Saab globally, but also maybe more specifically your market in Sweden, where that's going to put this car, and is this going to affect that or not?
Well, a couple of years ago we laid the groundwork, you can say, for the future of Saab, and that was basically in 3 areas. Product expansion, product renewal was one. We talked about the focus and strengthening the brand, back to the roots a little bit, and then thirdly to integrate better with GM so we could utilize the benefits of being a part of General Motors. So those were the 3 cornerstones, you can say, of our strategy. And of course, on the product renewal, the first thing we did was to show the Aero X, which was actually a way to try to describe the future design language and also how we want to position the brand. And with that as a foundation, of course, the work on developing the new products and expanding the portfolio started. And you can say we decided immediately that we need to renew the 9.5, a new 9.5, and we also need to expand, meaning get into the crossover segment. And what you see here behind me is a concept car that is actually our crossover vehicle for the future, which will participate in a segment that is growing in importance, not only here in the US, but also elsewhere in the world. And we think we have a very competitive offer that the concept actually represents. So it will be good additional business for not only our existing customers, but also we think that most of it is going to be incremental business. Today here in the US, about 30% of our customers have a sport utility in the garage of any kind. And of course we can only offer the 97X today, and this will give us an opportunity to really penetrate the existing customer base, as well as of course do some damage to our competitors, we hope, with the new crossover.
With the biopower that's really ubiquitous now in Sweden, do you see more of that thing happening with the 94X, maybe even in that market, or other products in that market, and globally? And do you see some of the technologically advanced right-sizing in the engines being something you'll continue doing down the road?
Well, our strategy, first of all, is 100% clear in terms of that our future powertrain strategy will be turbocharged engines with mostly 4-cylinder applications. In other words, right-sizing the engine size, but with turbocharging, getting more performance. E85 or ethanol, as an example, gives us even greater opportunities, because through the turbo technology and the characteristics of the fuel, we can take even more performance out of our vehicles, which means that you can even lower the size of the engine if you so decide. Reality, though, is with crossovers that today's environment is here in the US, vast majority is 6-cylinder gasoline engines, and in Europe, of course, 80% is diesel applications. So for the initial part, of course, that will be the core of our business, but we see also alternative fuel coming in terms of growing in importance, not only in Europe, but also here in the US. So over time, I'm sure you'll see that also.
What do you see in the next 5 years when it comes to products? Do we see more crossovers, or are you starting to see some smaller segment vehicles coming in? And maybe you could elaborate more on that. And then, was that for all markets or a certain market that you're only going to see this?
Well, I think you have globally two trends that are happening in the premium. One is crossovers is becoming more important. Segment is growing. Secondly, what's happening is that most premium manufacturers are moving down in terms of a vehicle below, in our case, the 9.3. You can say the BMW 1 Series, Audi A3, Volvo C30 as an example are typical examples of that. So these two trends we see happening, and that's where we're going to penetrate with our crossover as well as the vehicle below the 9.3. However, the 9.5 segment and the 9.3 segment remains very, very important and also relatively big in size. So you need to be in that area as well, which we will be with our new 9.5 and the 9.3.
Can you tell us a little bit about when we might be able to see some of these coming into the market for availability, for purchase?
Well, our priority at this point is the crossover and the new 9.5. And the crossover we're looking at sometime during next year that we'll see it in production. And it'll be a nice addition to our portfolio.
And the 9.5 as well?
Well, the 9.5 is about the same timing, you can say, as the crossover. It might be a little bit different in terms of how we introduce it in different markets, but before the end of this decade, you'll see a new 9.5 and a crossover.
And that smaller segment car, that after both of these model launches, do you know when that might be, or do you have a ballpark?
Well, of course, I know when it's going to happen, but unfortunately, I can't tell you that. But of course, I know when it's going to happen.
Excellent. And I guess wrapping up, is there anything you might want to share with Saab enthusiasts about what it means for you to come to work every day with Saab and the products that are offered, and kind of the environmental stance that Saab has now, and what you feel, being part of that means to you?
Well, I think that most Saab enthusiasts are going to be very happy in terms of that what the direction for Saab going into the future is very much based on the tremendous heritage that we have. If you look at 30 years of turbocharging as an example, if you look at elements that making a vehicle a little bit unique in terms of design, the aircraft heritage has a big impact, of course, and you can say, of course, safety, practicality are like cornerstones of the brand. So I'm sure that all enthusiasts are going to be happy about that. In addition, you can say last year we celebrated our 60th anniversary. Many of our enthusiasts, I'm sure, participated remote or in Trollhättan, and the response that we get when we have events like this, that's what makes you want to go back to work every day in tough times as well as in good times. And the support is, of course, tremendously appreciated.
Do you think the tough times are behind us now, and we're moving on to bigger and brighter things? Is there anything else you can...
Reality is you have good days and bad days, but you can say in general, I think the future for Saab is bright.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time.
No problem.